They called themselves the land of the civilized kings. They built cities with towering mud-brick ziggurats, wrote the first laws, and put gods into scripts carved on wet clay. Then, within a few generations, their great city-states faded from history, swallowed by droughts, conquest, and time. How did the people who taught the world writing and administration simply disappear? Tonight, we chase the last footprints of Sumer, asking whether their end was sudden accident, slow decline, or a complex transformation we still misread in modern-day southern Iraq. Around the banks where the Tigris and Euphrates meet the alluvial plains, small farming villages gathered together and became something the world had not yet seen. Cities, Sumer, the south of Mesopotamia, became a patchwork of independent city-states. Uruk, Ur, Lagash, Nippur. Here kings and priests built monumental platforms called ziggurats. Here scribes invented cuneiform, wedge impressions pressed into clay, the first durable script that would carry the voices of the ancient world forward. These people organized large-scale irrigation networks, traded across deserts and seas, and refined crafts, bronze tools, cylinder seals, the measurement systems that anchored administration. Their rise was not a single spark, but a concert of incremental inventions, social experiments, and the relentless ordering of water and labor. Sumer's golden century reads like a ledger of human ingenuity. In Uruk, the great hall and temple complexes became centers of surplus and record-keeping. The clay tablets that survive, administrative lists, tax receipts, myths, and hymns, show a society obsessed with order. Who paid what? How many sheep were moved? Which shipment went to which god's temple? We call this the cradle of civilization for good reason. The idea of codified rule, the engraving of a king's name on a monument, the deliberate composition of epic stories that ask the big questions of life and death. The Sumerian epics, the stories of Gilgamesh, of flood and loss, reveal a culture that could ask why cities fall, as if the question already weighed on them. Yet Sumer was never a single state. It was a network of often rival cities. Power shifted like the river's finger across the plain, city against city, king against king. Wars were frequent, sometimes devastating. The archaeological records show destruction layers, hurried rebuilds, and abrupt shifts in material culture. At the same time, the environment pushed back. These vast irrigation systems fed civilization, and they could also betray it. When canals silted, when salinity rose from poor drainage, yields fell. Scholars who study the soil see patterns. Centuries of irrigation in arid lands can lead to salt buildup in topsoil, making once productive fields marginal. In other words, the Sumerians were artisans in water, and water, if mismanaged for generations, quietly undoes empires. Around 2200 BCE, a shift happened. Climate records show an extended drought lasting centuries across the Near East. Lakes receded, rainfall shrank. A geologist at Byrd Polar Research Center suggests at least 200 years of drying, coinciding with mass abandonment of settlements. Between Tigris and Euphrates, 75% of sites were vacated in this period. According to the Biblical Archaeology Society, archaeology at Tel Leilan shows abrupt population collapse in northern Mesopotamia around the same time. A pattern echoed across Sumer. Drought squeezed food production, populations shrank, social stress mounted. Weak fields make weak states. Into the fissures marched Elamites from the east and nomadic Amorites over the Zagros foothills. By around 2000 BCE, the city of Ur fell to Elamite armies. The Sumerian city-states, once sovereign, were absorbed or overlapped by Akkadian, Gutian, and Babylonian rule. A lament from Ur reads, "Inside there is death, outside there is death. The people groan, their houses fall apart." The poetry echoes a civilization's last breath. But invasion was not conquest alone. It was layering. Sumer did not vanish all at once. It was engulfed, folded into new languages and identities. Even as Sumerian political power waned, its language held on. In Babylon and Assyria, scribes continued to teach Sumerian in temple schools. Like Latin in medieval Europe, it became a sacred ceremonial tongue long after it ceased as a spoken mother tongue. Meanwhile, Akkadian, a Semitic tongue, rose as the daily language. Sumerian words, names, gods, temples, many were inherited or syncretized. So while the name Sumer fades, its legacy echoes through religion, literature, and law. By 1750 BCE, Sumer as a distinct civilization had disappeared. Some cities lingered in memory, others buried in sand and water. The river course changed. Ur lost river access and became less viable. Over time, the physical landscape shifted away from Sumerian core zones. But disappearance is not annihilation. Elements survive as DNA, architecture, myth, and memory. Not a lost empire, but a heritage reframed today. You can walk the ruins of Ur, Uruk, Eridu, and Nippur, stone foundations, ziggurat bases, scattered tablets. In museums across the world, you'll see clay tablets with law codes, hymns, and the Epic of Gilgamesh, words written millennia ago still readable today. Visiting modern Iraq, you'll stand where city walls once surged, where canals laced between fields, and realize that the dust here is the residue of achievement, not mystery. In academic libraries, you can read the Sumerian king list, administrative tablets, and lament texts. Scholars debate, but the texts endure. The vanishing of Sumer was not sudden in every corner, but was sudden in the hearts of people. It shows how fragile even the greatest civilization is when its environment, economy, and polity invert. Sumer's fall warns us, mastery over rivers isn't mastery over nature. As one historian put it, their greatest creation was not monuments, but writing itself, a legacy that outlived their cities. The Sumerians did not vanish. They were transformed, folded into new tongues and structures. Their stones lie buried, but their voices still speak through clay. History is not a tomb to be opened once. It is a living conversation with the past. Help keep that conversation going. Subscribe to Mythantis for more explorations of ancient puzzles, like Share and Return for another lost echo of human history.